Welcome back to this series really geared towards nonprofits and taking your video creation up to the next level. This came from a talk I gave to a group of local nonprofits here in my area, and this video in particular is about phase 2 of the method that I teach, which is all about designing your video. That's from storyboarding to mood boards to scripting to shooting, all that stuff. It's really about taking your ideas and getting the raw assets. So I hope you enjoy, and if you do, please like and subscribe, and feel free to hit me up anytime. I'm happy to answer any questions. Next up is the design phase. This is where the fun stuff starts. Problems here, common problems with the design phase is, how do we decide on the direction or the style we want to take? How do we map out a simple story structure? How do we gather assets the right way? Well, I'm glad you asked. So we're going to choose a style and answer these questions here. So how do you decide? So we're going to see step 1, which was, defining your audience, your branding, your message, and stuff like that. And that's going to help you dictate the style that you're going to choose. You're going to assess your ability. Can you actually produce an animation or anything like that? Internally, we're going to kind of figure that out. Your bandwidth, like I said earlier, doing something between now and Friday is different than doing something between now and the end of the month. Budget, do we have a budget? Can we hire an expert? Can we outsource the animation part of it or whatever that is? And obviously another one is just kind of go with your gut. What do you feel is going to be a good way to get your message across? Different types of videos. You got your documentary style or docu-style. These come in a number of fashions. You see this. This is what a lot of people do. This is what most things out there are nowadays. Well, actually, it's a little different now with COVID. A lot of animation out there now. But this is the typical run and gun camera that you see nowadays. So documentary, testimonial videos, client testimonials, or with nonprofit organizations, people that you've helped transform. Event coverage, things like that. Narrative is telling like little short stories in an entertaining way. Promo, commercial, scripted. We all love Super Bowl ads. Those things are highly scripted, highly storyboarded, highly, everything. And then we have animation, which kind of you can go across the spectrum with animation. It's very multifaceted, or a mixture of all the above. So we're going to ask ourselves, what would be the best way to tell the message? And what will resonate with our audience? How can it be different and stand out? So how can we actually differentiate ourselves? Maybe it is experimenting with different types of video making. What's the budget? Because that is a consideration as well. And what's our bandwidth? So, you got to be realistic, right? You're not going to go and make an animation piece or a highly produced piece on with roving cameras and stuff if you only have, zero money. Next up, we're going to try to outline our story. So here's a simple outline, very simple, but it gets the job done. If you can get this, you can create any type of video really and just play with it. So it's hook, problem, solution. That's it. The hook, I'm going to go over the hook just a little bit because the hook's always fun. You've heard about the hook, right? The hook is like how you capture people and actually get them to watch. It's arguably the most important part of the video because especially this day with social media, you got to capture attention right away within the first 1 to 5 seconds. It's bait. That's why it's called a hook. It's meant to capture an audience. But the good news is it's not as scary as you think it is. Yes, attention is just the swipe of a thumb, but it can be executed in many ways through certain visual styles, through how you can be loud, you can create anticipation, you can create tension. There are different ways to get people hooked. So here's a simple script, hook. Imagine decimating hunger from your community. 1 in 4 children go without meals every day. Your donation can help solve this problem. Donate now. This is basically a 6-second script pre-roll before YouTube. I just came up with this really fast, but the hook is imagine decimating hunger from your community. That word imagine will humans are awesome creatures. We have the ability to imagine, and as soon as you say words like imagine or you create emotional words, we step into that because that's how we're wired. And then, problem. The problem is there's children going without food. We have that solution if you donate to us now. Here is another one. It basically takes that and builds it out a little bit more. So you have your cold open, which is your hook, context, which is generally the problem you're stating or the problem that you're going to solve through your content. And then we're going to conclude by summarizing everything with a call to action. You're welcome to take a picture of that, whatever you need to do. But that's a basic story outline. Obviously, there are many ways to do that within each one of those chunks. But that's a good visual of how something can be played out if you were to imagine a video visually, right? Instead of looking at it sequentially, if you were to see it from a bird's eye view, this is what it looks like. Gather assets. So that's basically shooting or getting the raw materials for your video. All right, so let me just give you a little gear rundown. This is supposed to animate to give you some anticipation, but whatever. So camera, any camera will do. Man, I am honestly blown away by these things these days. It's incredible. The iPhone 13 and, you know, and they have like the focus and everything. It's awesome. Even somebody like me who's like, can be super, what do you call it, avant-garde about my imagery because I work in it, you know, but these things like get the job done. Good audio. I've been saying this from the beginning. Video is 60%, if not more, listening. So you can have very terrible quality video, great audio, and you can hold an audience. You can, you know what I mean? Like you can actually, I mean, there are plenty of videos out there. The video is terrible, but you can hear what they're saying, or there's enough going on that you can figure out what's going on audibly that it'll actually hold your attention. So we want to make sure you get a good audio system, some sort of stabilization, tripod, and basic lighting, whether that's just one light. Lighting here is not great for video. It's yellow, but it's nice to set a mood if you're here by yourself, or knowledge of lighting. So using things like daylight windows, things like that to know where the light should hit to make your images pop. So getting better footage, I'm going to teach you some basic sequencing. So this is all you really need to tell a story. I remember when I lived back in Shreveport, before I moved off to the East Coast, I worked at KTBS as a news photographer, and one of the gentlemen that worked there, he's like, all you need to know is like these 3 basic shots, and after that, you just kind of figure it out as you learn. And the first shot is, you know, to set the scene. We're going to set the scene with some establishing shots. Those are extreme wide shots, establishing shots. So as you can see over there, we have an aerial or the beginnings of an aerial shot, a wide shot of this truck and the road they're on and these guys working, so you can actually see what action is happening in relation to what's around them. And then we move in to our second shot of the sequence, which is the wide shot of whatever action is happening, the subject. You can see over there on the far right. I'm not sure why I put these backwards. On the far right over there, he's wide, he's working the machines. We get moving a little bit closer to get closer to the action. These gentlemen right here are actually, you know, a mid shot from here up, and they're working on the machines. And then we move it even closer and get, you know, extreme close-ups and POV shots, things like that, where you actually feel like you're right next to them. So we want to start wide, pretend as if we're walking closer to someone to get in closer to the action so that you can actually feel what's going on. Within context, that's why we need the wide shots. And then we have the cutaway, which is essentially a way to save your butt if you need more footage. Like if you have a bad edit and you're like, I really could use something to cut away to right here, make sure you get plenty of cutaways so you can do that. So I got B-roll, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, and I can tell you about A-roll and B-roll. So A-roll is essentially the roll in which, if you were to look at a track-based system, it's the A-roll. It's the first roll, which is mostly talking, like someone talking on camera. That's your A-roll. B-roll is the footage that goes on top of that. So if you look at it as a layer, which in the editing we would. So yeah, this is B-roll. This is generic B-roll, cutaway stuff to help tell the story. Obviously you don't want something random. I'm not going to show like a squirrel right here. It wouldn't make any sense unless he was in the scene for whatever reason. But you know, you wouldn't want to like do something totally random. All right, so we're going into the third phase now, which is the deliver phase. Went through design, gave you some tips and tricks there, hopefully, and then now we're going to deliver.